Just picking up from Wendy's comment about the pace layers process, a couple of things also to mention is that the layers at the top tend to move fast and get all the attention. That's why fashion is a funny squiggly line. It goes all over the place, not really predictable. The layers at the bottom move very slowly but rarely get attention. Also what you find is that the layers at the bottom, changes at that base, ripple all the way up through the stack, but very rarely do changes at the top go all the way down. However, we're at a moment in history where the layers around commerce and infrastructure and governance are now impacting on natural systems, and the ripples go straight back up again. So this is why it's a nice model to get your head around macro scale trends, what to watch, how they impact each other, and we need to pay close attention to. So speaking of paying close attention, what I want to do is pay close attention to a really tangible example of where infrastructure meets climate change. And so on the west coast of the South Island is a place some of you will know as Pancake Rocks, or Punukaiki is a small township there. And that's a major tourist destination with a very small population. And this is a view of the road just going up to Pancake Rocks going south in 2010. And I've been over this road many, many times and sort of looked over the edge sometimes when I'm walking on that footpath, and it always seemed to be quite heavily fortified, quite a robust piece of infrastructure, seemingly indestructible. But last February, this is what happened. A storm came through and turned it into that. Now, there's two interesting things in that photo. First of all is the road itself, but the second thing is all the infrastructure running in the road and how close it is to the coastline. It's like someone pulled the hand of God out and just wiped the road off the map. That has just reopened. It's taken months and millions of dollars to repair that stretch of road. And what you're seeing in that part of the west coast of the South Island is a combination of rising sea levels plus extreme weather events make climate change not an esoteric subject for debate, but actually a very real change to how people live on the coast. So the campground at Punukaiki is losing metres off the front of its beach every year. Up further north from here, go past Westport, there's two small towns, one called Hector and one called Granity. In that same storm that took the road out, one lady woke up when a wave went through her lounge. Right, so she'd been in that area for 40, 50 years, never seen a storm like this, and you found a whole bunch of houses right along that strip of road between the mountains and the sea where they were basically flooded out. So what's interesting about this is that you would think in an area where you actually have a very tangible example of climate change literally hitting home, that you would think actually something's going on. And so the response has been quite interesting. So the regional council has invested millions of dollars putting up massive seawalls, reinforcing parts of the west coast. And that really brings climate change home, or so you would think. But in last year, there was a public meeting, and I don't normally use words on slides, but I want you to stop and read this top extract here. So basically, at a public meeting, when the subject of climate change literally affecting your house was put up, and whether you should keep building seawalls and investing in infrastructure, people said, I want to vote never ever to talk about that again. So if you want an example of where you get this tension between sort of this ground up approach around how you tackle it, this is an example in New Zealand of where people have actually said, never talk to me about that again, even though the sea is going through my house. Now, the next thing that's really interesting about this is you think, okay, so if the bottom-up approach isn't working, what about the top-down approach? So what's the approach that will be taken by regional authorities? So once again, I don't like using words usually, but this was the approach. And so this is from Program Business Case and Master Plan for the Buller District Council. On the far right-hand side, just read the comments. Which basically says, We don't know how this is going to work or who's going to pay for it, even though residents in our area are getting their houses washed out by the effects of climate change. So if you want an example of where climate change is actually literally hitting New Zealand firsthand, and the reaction from people versus the reaction from authorities, to me, this is like ground zero. And so the question that I have, that I'd like to answer later on in Q&A, is actually, how do we change paradigms? If people don't change their mindset, literally when the sea comes through their house, and local councils are struggling with the issue around who's going to pay for this, then what's the course of action that we can take? I don't have the answer, but I'll have to discuss that during the Q&A, and that's my 5 minutes. Thank you.